Hello and welcome once again to another quick shot review, the dedicated movie channel for cheap shot entertainment. This one was down as a scream unseen at my local cinema, and when the title card came up, I was very excited because it is In a Violent Nature. Now, this one has been hailed as the spiritual successor to Friday the 13th. So it's got a very big muddy boots to fill. And I really enjoyed it. I've got to say, it's not a Friday the 13th, but for the low budget, considering when it was made and the premise of it, where you follow the perspective of the killer himself or themselves, because who knows, but it does nothing new apart from that. That being said, it does have its moments where I was smiling and almost clapping my hands in excitement for the things that Johnny does. Now, Johnny is the main character. Johnny is the killer, the corpse, the resurrected corpse of a special needs person who went up a fire tower, got thrown off the fire tower, and died, and his remains stayed underneath the fallen fire tower. Now, when the amulet or chain or neck chain or charm is removed from said grave, Johnny comes back for his murderous revenge. Sounds familiar, right? Because it is. It's in a woods. There's a load of horny teenagers, and they're staying in a cabin next to a lake. Tick, tick, tick. There's also a deranged killer coming for them. Tick. The deranged killer has a unique weapon. Tick. I'm just enamored by this film. I really enjoyed it. Some people came out saying, "Oh, that was rubbish, that was." Obviously they don't appreciate classic horror like I do. And I was talking to my mate Mike about this, and because we're both horror aficionados, and I haven't watched a horror film with him for a very long time, but we both appreciate how great and how bad horror can actually be. And there's something really enjoyable about both aspects of that. You can go from A Quiet Place to In a Violent Nature, which is hokey at best, but really, really enjoyable to the classic horror fan. Now, I'm not suggesting that you should utterly enjoy this film if you're a horror fan. Far from it. You know, obviously, I always say that if you want to go and see a film, go and see a film. If you don't want to go and see a film, don't go and see the film. But I have the luxury, I say a luxury, I paid for it, of having a cinema card. And the cinema card gets me into any film I want. And that can go from horror to family friendly films. And I've seen quite a few of those. But this is definitely not one of those family friendly films. And it definitely does not have any established names within its ranks. So yeah, In a Violent Nature. Official blurb: when the locket is removed from a collapsed fire tower in the woods that entombs a rotting corpse of Johnny, a vengeful spirit, spurred on by an horrific 60-year-old crime, his body is resurrected and becomes hell-bent on retrieving it. So all he wants is this little locket. That's what he wants. It was his mum's. You know, vouch for that. That's a reasonable reason. So yeah, it does star Rye Barrett as Johnny. It does a good job as playing the killer. Andrea Pavlovich as Chris, who is the I suppose the scream queen in this one. Cameron Love plays Colt. Reese Presley plays the Ranger, and then the rest of them are just sort of there. They're cannon fodder for the killer. And there's only like a cast of about 10 here, which is, down to obviously director's choice, but obviously to keep the budget low as well, which is fine. Doesn't have very favourable reviews, unfortunately, from the masses. I thought this one was clever. It is a love story, a love letter to the classic horror fans, slasher fans, the ones who love the cliches and the tropes of horror movies. Like I say, horny teenagers in a wood next to a lake staying in a cabin. It's just tick, 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 tick. Tick boxes all around here. And usually I don't like tick box exercises, but I'll make an exception for this one. It was more funny than it was scary. It was gory, but the gore was, not big budget, if you like. It's back to the roots. This could have been released in 1980 and it would have been right at home with the rest of the horror films that came out around about the same time. Wonderful cinematography. Like I say, it follows over the shoulder of the killer. And it won't be for everyone. But for me, it was great. I love it. Just a killer with one goal in mind, doesn't care, doesn't have any remorse. Obviously, being a spirit of a corpse, from someone who died 60 years previous from a crime. It's just great. I love it. I absolutely love it. Like I say, it won't be for everybody. Some people will get really bored in this film. Because it doesn't have the jump scares, because it doesn't have all the tropes that you find today. But I enjoyed it, and if you're a horror fan, if you're a slasher fan, I would definitely recommend this one. And now we move on to a classic 25 years since the release of The Mummy, starring Brendan Fraser. Yes, the very same Brendan Fraser is now quite rotund and starred in a film called Whale, which got critical acclaim. But yeah, looking forward to reviewing that one because it's still great and it's even better when you've seen it in the cinema. But until then, film fans, I will leave you there. Thank you very much for listening. Subscribe, follow the podcasting channel on the Spotify's and all other podcasting channels. And I will see you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Hiya.